Hey, I'm Jeff, and we're the Muckers. We are the April Music Spotlight for Bullet Music. We're going to be playing at Smith's Old Bar on April 24th for the showcase.
Awesome. You guys, Samantha Hutton here. Let's just go ahead and introduce ourselves. We have Jeff here, frontman of the band.
Yes, I'm Jeff Shaw. I do fiddle and mandolin. Most of the singing, we all five of us sing.
Awesome.
I'm Brady. I play guitar and vocals.
I'm Randall. I play bass, sometimes sing.
I'm Dave. I play the accordion and also sing.
Steve Lingo, drums and vocals as well.
Nice. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out and hanging out with us. We're really excited to have you. We're excited to hear you in April at the showcase. So I just want to talk a little bit, very basic. Where did you guys begin? I guess that's you. So starting from the very beginning.
Yeah, I had moved down from Boston, where there was, more Irish rock than you can shake a stick at, and I came down here and I'm like, well, that's what I've been doing, in all the places I've lived, so it should be easy. I'll just put up a Craigslist post, and I'm sure someone will want a violinist who knows Irish rock. I put it up, and crickets. So I said, okay, I guess I'm going to have to do this myself. So I put up another Craigslist post, this time saying, I'm starting an Irish rock band. These are the instruments I'd like to have. And Brady replied, and we got together and just sort of, over the years, pieced everything together. And now we've had this lineup for almost 2 years running.
Nice.
And it has been fabulous having, one solid lineup. Everybody, we've clicked really well together, and we all get along fantastically. So I've never been happier with the group before. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. I imagine, though, you went through a lot of kind of turmoil and changing out players and people to kind of get to where you're at now, which took a long time.
It took a while. I mean, we went about 2 years where it was kind of rotating drummer, whoever could make it or anything like that. And when we finally found Steve and realized how well we got along, and I'm telling you, he doesn't overplay, so you might not necessarily know it, but he is one of the best drummers in Atlanta.
Oh, nice. That's exciting. We'll be keeping our eye out for
Yeah,
him.
exactly. So as long as he wants to stay, he gets to stay.
You're lucky to have him.
Agreed.
So the name The Muckers.
So what I love about it is that I actually was almost in two bands called the Muckers before this, and then both times we decided on something else. And the thing I like about it is it sounds really dirty, and it sounds really punk rock, and literally all it means is the friends.
Oh, nice.
So it sounds awful, but it's just like an Irish term, especially if it was someone you work with. I'd be like, hey, you're my mucker, mate. So it's really funny when we meet someone from England or Ireland. A lot of times they'll be like, I bet people think that's the dirtiest thing in the world, right?
I mean, it kind of does, but it has that kind of like dirty, grungy name, which is...
Shit shoveler.
Yeah. It also does mean literally shit shoveler, which is also great.
Well, we'll go with friend. We won't tell anybody that you shovel shit.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So obviously you're Irish rock and you play a lot of covers as well as your own stuff. So you started out playing covers of classic Irish stuff, or did you start out with your own?
We started out with the combination, because I had songs I had written with previous bands. I had songs that friends had written that I'm just like, hey, do you mind if we play this one? I had one song where I realized I accidentally stole the entire riff from a friend of mine, so I called him and said, hey, do you mind if we keep playing this, but just give you credit on the album? And he said yes.
Cool.
We're on such good terms, we're playing with him this week, so.
Is he same kind of genre?
No, he plays more rockabilly, Americana sort of things. He fronts a band called the Rotten Cores out of New Orleans, and they are fabulous.
Sounds like a good time. Some Irish rock, some of that.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good time. So you have how many albums out? Just one?
We've got two albums and a single.
Okay.
And we're planning to hit the studio this summer to put the third album together.
Oh, exciting. All right. So how would you describe your albums? Besides,
The second one's the best.
Yeah,
Second one's the best.
Dave says that because that's the one he's on. I usually...
One of us are on the first album, and then...
Yeah, these two were joined. Yeah, we actually just used our studio guy, just did the drums for us for the first album, because he's also a really solid drummer. So we recorded everything without drums, and then we came back a few weeks later and he put down all the tracks and we're like, oh, sounds great. Thank you, Colt. Thank you, Colt.
Shout out. So tell us about your new single.
Sorry, we didn't. The single we actually released between the two albums.
Okay, gotcha.
It was our friends at Terminus Tees said we're taking all our, they make T-shirts for so many musicians. They were taking some of their customers that they liked the music for, and they were just giving them a day in studio.
Nice.
And so we spent a day there and put together. It was a song I co-wrote with one of my friends up in Boston, one of the people I was playing with up there. And it came out great. Go listen on Spotify.
Awesome. Yeah, go find them on Spotify. Listen to them and come to the show. So tell me a little bit about your writing as a band now, like with all of you guys being together for 2 years. How do you contribute? Does somebody write most of the lyrics? Does somebody write most of the music? Is it more of a jam until you find something that you like? How does that dynamic work with you guys?
Yeah, Jeff, sorry, I don't mean to be taking over everything.
Well, Jeff writes most of our lyrical content. Sometimes he'll pitch in a line here or there when he needs it. As far as the instrumentals go, it's somewhat experimental, I'd say, just in practice, trying new things and seeing what sticks. We all kind of write our own parts for the most part.
Yes, we've got a really good lineup of musicians. For the most part, I'll come with a chord structure and maybe this one we're gonna make it kind of like Johnny Cash style.
Fun.
And then everybody gets to do what they want. And if we don't like it, which very rarely happens, we're also close enough and know each other well enough. We can be like, I don't think that's quite the sound we're looking for, but
just save it
it
for
almost
later,
never.
maybe it'll
Yeah,
fit
exactly.
somewhere else. Yeah.
And then we find something that fits. But everybody, I think, has total freedom to write it the way they want to write it, and that's what makes it come together.
Right.
And when that doesn't work, Jeff usually gets a newspaper and
Just wrap them on the nose.
No, not that.
My favorite part about us writing together is we're from all over the East Coast and the country. Jeff's from Buffalo. When he moved down here, and then our newest album, one of our songs, Dave helped write the part of the bridge to it, and Jeff was like, I gotta say the word y'all.
Yeah, what is this? Y apostrophe A-L-L? How do you pronounce that? I don't.
It's not in your vocabulary.
I'm not familiar with that word.
Welcome to the South.
but every time I'm on stage and it gets to that part, I'm just like,
Jeff had to say y'all.
It's starting to roll off his tongue now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's something that you can't fight.
Yeah,
It's like
slowly pulling
all of a
me.
sudden you just start saying it, and then you hate yourself for a little bit, and then you have to go through the stage of
I
acceptance.
cannot believe I just said y'all.
I think that's the 4th time you've said it now.
I know. But I'm talking about the word. It's okay when you're discussing the word.
It doesn't
you should
count.
see his facial expression when he realizes he just used it in your vocabulary. He just,
No.
what? Oh, what?
Probably appalled.
It's the same face you guys make when I say I'm going to grab a pop, so. Yeah.
I think
I
he's,
said pop for a long time.
Yeah.
he's
But I'm
extra
not from there.
conscientious because he's an editor, so he thinks
Yeah.
about the words that he uses.
Soda, Coke, whatever the hell you people call it.
So, being in this genre that's kind of a niche genre, I would say. When you're writing, how true are you to that, and how much leeway do you have to kind of build in some more punk elements, some more rock and roll elements, as opposed to staying true to the kind of Irish sound? If that's a legitimate question.
No, it's definitely legitimate.
Yeah.
I would say it's we don't really marry ourselves to the Irish rock theme. It's where my background comes from, and I contribute, the most of the original songs, and tend to be the driver of some of the
People kind
covers.
of force you into that category too, because you're the only one that, we
Well,
were talking about this earlier, when St. Patrick's Day comes around,
Yeah.
everybody wants you because it's so hard to find people that sound like that.
And the thing is, when you have accordion and fiddle and mandolin playing, it's gonna sound
Right.
Irish no matter what you do. Yeah, they're gonna, the visual and the sound is gonna come out Irish. So even when we play, we play a Darkbuster tune, which is just a straight punk band out of Boston. if you took away the accordion and the mandolin, it would just be a punk rock tune.
Yeah.
But when we do it, it just becomes a Muckers tune. You know, it's you get that sound and you get the style of each of the players. And so I use Irish rock almost as shortcut, because you don't want to be like, you know, if somebody asks what you play, you don't want a 10-minute lecture on what we play.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier to just say, we're Irish rock. We're not really that, we don't toe the line that much.
Right.
And nobody's complained yet. Nobody's said, you know, you don't play enough Irish tunes.
Well, I'll
so.
say it.
Yeah. Dave comes from the Irish trad circle, so he actually truly believes that we don't play enough Irish tunes.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's working for you guys.
Right.
I get jazzy too, you know.
We're just a rock and roll band with Irish influence,
Yes.
I guess you could say.
Yeah,
Just
that's the
that's
easier
not
way
all
to
of our
put it.
heritage and upbringing, except for the English one.
Yeah.
Just kidding. It's just his name.
Yeah. We have a guy named English in the band, even
My
though we
name
play
is
Irish.
literally Randall English.
What
Even
are you
Randall
doing
is-
in an Irish band?
Diversity.
Yeah,
Diversity.
exactly. Affirmative action. We let an Englishman in.
This interview is brought to you by the Creature Comforts Classic City Lager. Classic City Lager is good, cold beer. From tailgates to concerts, nothing pairs better with a great time than the deliciously simple taste of Classic City Lager. To learn more, visit creaturecomfortsbeer.com. That's creaturecomfortsbeer.com. You probably already know how great Yelp is for finding the best spots to grab a bite or stay the night in an unfamiliar city. But what you may not know is that Yelp can help you find local hidden gems as well. So whether you're inside or outside of the perimeter, visit Yelp.com or download the Yelp app to discover the best Atlanta has to offer.
So when you are writing, you know, what are your influences? Basic
A lot of
question.
times it tends to be whatever I was listening to
Whatever you're
last.
listening
Like,
to,
we've got a couple on the back burner. I've been writing a lot more lately just because I've had the time and I've had a lot to think and talk about and share. So one of them, I'm just like, I'm going to write a social distortion tune today. And it's not
Nice.
literally a social distortion tune, but I sat down and I wrote something that, like, if I were to present a song to Mike Ness, this would be it.
Yeah, but that's kind of cool what you're saying. You know, you can sit down and write a song like that, but when you add in these instruments,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, it changes the entire sound.
Once it shows up at practice, I'm really just showing up with the chord progression and my opinion on it. I'm not married to any of that. You know, someone could easily say, I think this would work better with, like, a ska punk beat. Absolutely, I'm 100%
Like, okay,
behind
cool.
it.
Yeah, cool. Being an Irish punk band, tell me a little bit about the chaos of St. Patrick's Day, because I know we were talking earlier about being booked a year in advance, and it has to be booked because, again, you're that niche band that sounds like nobody around here. Everybody wants the Muckers to play for them St. Patrick's Day. Don't let it go to your head. It's true, though.
St. Patrick's Day is our most busy time of year.
Yeah.
It's our most exhausting shows. It's also our most sober shows.
Yeah.
Well, it
Or
has to be.
we're too busy to drink.
Yeah,
Oh.
we'll go days at a time for 3, 4, 5 days of shows constantly, several hours on stage per day, and there's a lot of load in and load out and this and that. And
It sounds
so
exhausting
it's,
just hearing about it.
It's also very rewarding.
Oh, I
imagine
so. And everybody loves it.
I ain't playing at all. I love it. It's
One of my favorite pictures was from last year, right after we finished our last show, and St. Patrick's was on a Saturday last year.
Lord.
So it was just like, you know, I think we went Wednesday to Sunday, where it was at least 3 hours a day. Some of the days we did
like an 8-hour
we did
day,
2
right?
sets at Fido and then one and McCracken. So we did 9 hours in one day on St.
That's
Patrick's
like loading
Day.
and loading out at a couple different two
Well,
different
that's
venues.
9 hours of playing,
my
of
God.
on stage.
How does
and
your
then-
voice feel after that? You're like, don't talk to me the next day.
I had to change some of the melodies on Sunday because we played another 3 hours on Sunday, and my high range was completely gone. So I'm like, all right,
drop
we're
it
gonna have to
down a
get a
little
little
bit.
inventive here. But immediately after we finished that show, you know, it's mid-March, so it is beautiful out. And Brady just immediately sets his guitar down and goes and flops out in the tulips. And I'm just like, okay, we got to get that.
Oh, that's
On the
beautiful.
merch table and just there's grass,
He's like,
and flower bed.
I'm
and
done.
I feel like that needs
Yeah,
comfortable.
we can load out later, but right now I'm just laying in the grass.
That's an album cover. Your St. Patrick's Day album. An album cover. Do you have any crazy stories? Maybe not from you guys in the band, but things you've witnessed. St. Patrick. I imagine you see everything. anything. I don't know, it's just total chaos when you look out into the sea of people.
Yeah.
We're definitely having fun this year by the last set. There were so many. They had us move from the big outside stage into the smaller indoor stage, and it's just packed shoulder to shoulder, and everyone is so very drunk. And so, like, people wanted to talk into the microphone and stuff, and it kind of became like a stand-up comedy bit where we're just straight up making fun of everybody in the room, and half of them aren't even getting that we're making fun of them.
You gotta have your fun.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't drink, you might as well.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not gonna remember it.
There was a really drunk girl, and she spent about 5 minutes, like, angrily telling us we needed to play the, what was it? It was
I don't remember what song it was.
Was it the Macarena?
Macarena.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, some people think you're a jukebox.
Yeah,
sometimes,
and it's like, no, we don't know the song. You don't want us to play a song we don't know. I promise you.
Day.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Oh my gosh, the Macarena.
I don't know if she was so drunk that she thought we were like, well, you're the Muckers, so you have to play the Macarena, right? But
Oh, she thinks it's the Macarena.
I have no idea if that's what she was. That's the closest I could come up with. We've gotten requested for Britney Spears and Backstreet Boys before as well.
Have you ever obliged and tried to throw a Britney Spears song together? Or you're just like, no.
Yeah.
Chop that down.
Yeah, just have one in our back pocket just to like be like, see, there, we did it.
All right, happy? Now stop. So let's take a few steps back, way back to the beginning, and go into how we actually met each other.
Oh, wow.
That's a fun story.
Yeah.
Male seeking accordion.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Is it just all Craigslist ads?
Me, Brady found each other on Craigslist, and then Steve, we ended up going back when we couldn't get a steady everyday drummer who wanted to be there every day and, was willing to play the low pay shows that were far away the same way he was willing to play the big St. Patrick's Day big money blowouts.
Was he on Craigslist too?
He was Craigslist, so we found him that way, and it was just a perfect fit from day one. And then Randall and Dave were both friends of friends.
Yeah, I was a friend of a friend.
And so it just sort of came together, and eventually, you get a couple of weeks of practice in, and you know pretty quickly if you're going to get along. That's really cool. It really was that simple.
It's such an odd group of people odd group of instruments to really mesh with, because you don't have that much variety. You don't have that many people that play the accordion and stuff like that. Yeah. So you got lucky that you got one that stuck.
I was heavily influenced by one of the bands I look up to. Has an accordion player in the band, and hanging out with him in Jacksonville, Florida, one weekend at a festival. He told me, he's like, you need to learn how to play accordion. And I was like, okay. He goes, yeah, the world needs more accordion players.
Amen.
So I come home, and long story short, I got injured on the trip, and I was out of work for a few days because of my foot not working like it should. So I got to find an accordion. Where do I get an accordion at? I just don't know even where to buy one.
Where do you shop for an accordion?
Yeah, so I was like, is there one on Craigslist maybe?
Dave's steaming over there.
Yeah.
Where do you shop for an accordion?
No,
dude,
that's a struggle with it.
So like I get on Craigslist. I'm propped up on a couch, my foot elevated, and I'm like, anywhere within a day's drive in the southeast, somebody's got to have one for sale. Nobody.
You'd think, right? Everybody's selling an accordion.
Yeah, everybody's trying to get rid of their accordion.
Yeah, so I found this guy in Atlanta looking for an accordion player in his band, and that's how I somehow stumbled across him on Craigslist, and then
because you were just searching for an accordion.
Yeah, and years later, that musician saw me. He's like, "Hey, how's it going?" I said, "It went a different direction. I didn't.
But
know how
it was
to play,
good.
But I found one, and I started a band." He goes, "Well, that works too."
That works too.
He keeps calling him that musician in that band. It was Matt Hensley, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Matt Hensley.
From Flogging Molly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Thank you for that bit of information.
I understand you're trying to downplay it, but it was Matt Hensley, man. You don't have to pretend.
You can say it. It's fine. It's a lot better than that musician, that band. That's really cool, and that's like when you look back in hindsight at these little things that happen in your life that start to merge together, and if you hadn't hurt your foot, which I'm sure sucked at the time, but it turned out really good for you, didn't it?
That whole weekend just took a complete left turn from what I expected to do, and if I hadn't have made a certain decision to do this or that, I wouldn't have gotten hurt. It wouldn't have led me to running into the band that night.
No.
Well, I mean, I'm comfortable right now. I don't know, but it was.
That's
I was glad I got hurt. That was kind of cool. I mean,
that's a.
It worked out for me.
Fluke of life, yeah. So now you got all these people.
I'm certainly glad he messed up his ankle.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have the cool story But I do have to say, I did make it in for our third show, so I'm still a pretty early member.
Okay.
I still forget, just because he's not a founding member, like, that he's basically, it was our third show. Yeah. We had 3 bases for 3 shows, the third one stuck. But it's like, I still sometimes catch myself being like, yeah, and then Randall joined the band, like, that was 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
Like, he's really been here the whole time. We don't have to pretend. We still hadn't really figured out who we were by the time Randall got in the band.
It counts.
Yeah.
There are very few people that are like, oh yeah, the Muckers, and who's that bass player?
Yeah, who's that new bass player?
I don't
He wasn't there for the first 2 shows 4 years ago.
Yeah. For those empty shows.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
we did our first show was the Masquerade, but it was.
Was it Hell?
No, good Lord, no, it was Purgatory. It was,
Oh,
it was
my
Purgatory at
goodness.
the old Hell, so we were legitimately worried the ceiling was going to come down.
Oh, I remember that venue.
It was.
It was a good time, but it was a little unnerving.
It was, but that was very poorly attended, as all first shows should be. But you know, it was kind of cool. We still get to say our first show was at the Masquerade.
It sounds way cool.
Yeah.
It sounds way cool. They don't need the details. Your first show is the
Did
Masquerade.
you cut that part actually?
Yeah, well, just like it was an awesome show at the Masquerade. That's all you need to know.
Packed house
Yeah.
just for us.
Everybody knows the Muckers.
Yeah.
So you're playing a lot of venues. You're playing a lot around Atlanta. Yeah, you stay busy.
Yeah.
We say we're the hardest working Irish rock band in
Yes,
Georgia.
in Atlanta specifically.
Yeah.
But we. I have been bragging. We played 53 shows last year. I counted them up, and I think we're going to beat that this
Really?
year because we've got a couple of tours. Like we all work day jobs, so we can't do real
Right.
full-time touring. But we're definitely going to have 2 tours this summer. One of them's going to be like 10, 11 days. The first tour we're just going to do a little bit in the southeast. We haven't been to Knoxville in a couple of years, so we're going to make it back there, and we're going to be finally linking up. Brady is old friends with a bunch of the guys from Cutthroat Shamrock in Tennessee, and actually Ben, who isn't permanently with the band anymore, but he still sits in with them once in a while. He did both of our album covers.
Oh, cool, yeah.
So we've had like a long-standing connection with them, but we've never actually played with them. We're going to do 2 shows back to back with them. And then the summer, it's not announced yet, but we will be heading quite far north this summer.
Fun. Maybe back to Buffalo.
Maybe back to Buffalo. Maybe back to Boston while we're up there.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
How do you balance this with having day jobs?
I just don't sleep.
Just don't sleep? Oh my gosh.
Thankfully, like, it's actually really uncommon to have 5 people all with like day jobs or school for 2 of them still, and actually be able to tour for real.
Yeah.
So I'm extremely grateful that I've got 5 people willing to use up vacation time and things like that.
That's
I know I'm willing, but I would not take it as like an affront to the band or anything like that if somebody said, hey man, I can't take a week off of work just to go on tour.
Yeah, but everybody wants to leave work and go on
Yeah.
tour. That sounds like a lot more fun.
A lot of people
than
want to
being
leave
at
work and go to the beach, not to, Providence, Rhode Island.
But if you love what you do, then it's the same.
Like vacation,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, whether
It's
I
still a lot of
very
work.
glamorous.
We have to go to the fun places, and then we play a show, and then we want to go to sleep.
Yeah. They're going to be short drives this time, I promise. There's going to be like one long day on the whole tour. So hopefully we'll get some time to actually enjoy the cities.
Real close with each other.
Yeah.
I really hope you
Yes.
get along well.
Well, if you've ever seen pictures of us playing,
Test.
if you've ever seen pictures of us playing at Johnny McCracken's, which we did last night, we are very used to being very intimate. I think I owe one of Steve's cymbals about $20 for the massages I received last night.
What?
Step dances don't come free.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm used to, we move around a lot, so I'll back up and then Steve will hit the cymbal and be like, oh, good morning. Hello.
I'm playing a broom class.
We're excited to see you play.
Thank you so much
Thanks
for
for
having
hanging
us
out
on.
with us.
For real.